she confided in a stranger. Unbeknownst to her, he was her millionaire boss desperate to love her. Night fell over the city like a dark blanket, suffocating everything underneath. The streets glistened, reflections of neon lights dancing on puddles left by yesterday's rain. Jenna hurried past the thrumming nightlife, a knot in her stomach pulling her forward. She had just quit her job, leaving behind a soul-crushing 9-to-5 that had stolen her joy. But tonight, something felt different. Unknowingly standing on the brink of a new life, she brushed past figures in shadows, feeling their eyes dig into her back. She stumbled into a dimly lit bar, the air thick with smoke and laughter. The jukebox crooned an old love song as she tried to shake off her nerves. That's when she locked eyes with him. He sat in the corner, cloaked in an aura of mystery, dark hair, perfectly tailored suit, and a smile that seemed to light the room. Just as curiosity tugged at her heartstrings, he nodded slightly as if he already held her secrets. "Care for a drink?" he asked, his voice warm and inviting. Jenna felt a rush like an electric shock racing through her veins. She couldn't help but say yes. They dove into conversation, the world outside fading into oblivion. He listened intently, as if her every word was a treasure. She shared her dreams, her fears, pouring out her heart to this stranger. But as their laughter intertwined, so did a haunting sense of unease. Their connection felt almost fated, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that he was more than he seemed. Her heart raced as she sensed something dark beneath his charm. People at the bar shifted their glances, whispers filled the air. "He's trouble," one woman muttered, fear flickering in her eyes. Before she could take a step back, he leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You have no idea who you're talking to, do you? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jenna's heart thudded violently. A knot twisted in her stomach. Who was this man? And why did his words feel like they carried the weight of 1,000 secrets? The thrill of danger mixed with the allure of his presence, making her want to lean closer instead of pulling away. She gazed into his brooding eyes, a tumult of emotions swirling between them. A cacophony of laughter erupted from the bar, but she only heard the pounding heartbeat in her chest. What would happen if she stepped further into his world? What dark truths lay concealed behind that handsome smile? Just as she opened her mouth to ask, the door swung open, a gust of chilling wind cutting through the warm atmosphere. The stranger's expression shifted, his calm mask slipping. She felt it, the tension overshadowing the earlier ease. Before she could process the sudden change, the announcement shattered her thoughts. Out of the shadows stepped a figure that made her breath hitch, a rival from her old job, with a scowl that promised chaos. Jenna's hand trembled, gripping the edge of the table. The night was far from over. And she was right in the eye of this storm. Jenna's heart raced as she recognized her former colleague, Clara. The air crackled between them, heavy with hostility. Clara's bright red dress was a stark contrast against the dark bar, her eyes glinting with malice. "What are you doing here, Jenna?" Clara's voice dripped with sarcasm, causing a ripple of curiosity among nearby patrons. The laughter had quieted, eyes now glued to the unfolding drama. Jenna stumbled over her words, glancing at the stranger for reassurance. But he remained silent, studying the two women with an impassive expression. "Pathetic, really," Clara continued, stepping closer, her lipstick a vivid shade of fire that mirrored the growing tension between them. "You think you can escape your miserable life? You'll always be the same loser, enough." The stranger's voice cut through the bar like an unleashed storm. He stood up, tall and imposing. "Don't you dare speak to her like that." Jenna's breath caught in her throat. Who was this man, and why was he defending her? The fierce intensity in his eyes sent jolts of conflicting emotions through her. Clara recoiled slightly, surprise flickering across her features before she smirked. "Well, well, well, looks like you've found yourself a new friend. But good luck keeping her around for long." There was a cruel edge to her laughter that echoed in Jenna's mind. Jenna felt her heart pounding, pulse throbbing in her ears. She wanted to tell Clara to leave, to walk away and forget this moment, but she was frozen in place. The weight of the stranger's gaze brought a strange comfort that warred against her rising anxiety. "You know nothing about me. You lost your shot," Jenna finally managed. Her voice was steady, though her insides churned. She felt a spark of defiance flicker to life. Clara rolled her eyes, but her smirk faltered. "Keep telling yourself that. But we both know there's a reason you're here, with Mr. Big Shot." She gestured dismissively and turned on her heel, stalking out of the bar. As the door swung shut behind her, a heavy silence enveloped the room. Jenna released a breath she didn't know she was holding. The strangers, now fewer in number, returned to their drinks, the spell of drama broken. But the feeling of impending doom lingered. "Sorry about that," the stranger said, his voice low and smooth. "I didn't expect her to show up tonight." His eyes darkened as if the mere mention of Clara ignited something dark within him. "Who are you?" The question slipped from Jenna's lips, voicing the curiosity she had suppressed since their first encounter. "Just someone who recognizes potential when he sees it," he replied, leaning in closer. "But you're much more than potential. You're a warrior." The sincerity in his compliment sent a rush of warmth through her. Yet, that same unease crawled up her spine. "Why do you care?" Jenna asked cautiously, the doubt prickling her. He hesitated. The tenderness in his gaze flickered, revealing a storm of emotions behind the composed facade. "Because I can't stand bullies," he finally said, his tone dropping as if revealing a deeply buried truth. "And Clara is a force of chaos. She won't let you go that easily." Jenna felt her heart race. Why was he warning her? What did he know that she didn't? Just then, a low rumble echoed from the back of the bar, and the lights flickered. Several patrons gasped, looking around in confusion. "What was that?" Jenna asked, anxiety creeping back. "Trouble," the stranger replied, casting a glance toward the rear exit. "You may want to leave now." "How do you know?" Panic bubbled in Jenna's chest. "Because the world is usually as dark as the minds of those who rule it," he said cryptically, his gaze locked on the shadows beyond. "And it's about to catch up with us." With that statement hanging heavily in the air, Jenna's heart dropped. Was she really ready to dive deeper into this dark, seductive world? Or was stepping closer to him inviting danger she couldn't foresee? Before she could make sense of her thoughts, the door to the bar swung open once more, and this time, a heavy presence stepped through. The figure that stepped through the door wore a long, dark coat that billowed slightly as he entered. Jenna blinked, trying to comprehend the sight before her. It felt like a scene from some thriller movie. The silence returned in waves, and all the patrons seemed to hold their breath collectively. With slow, deliberate steps, the newcomer approached the bar. The dim light caught his features, revealing a chiseled jaw and piercing blue eyes that scanned the room with a sense of authority. He was tall, exuding the kind of confidence that immediately drew attention. Jenna's heart raced not with excitement but with a deep sense of dread. The stranger beside her stiffened, his expression changing from curious focus to something more guarded. "Get back," he whispered, urgency slicing through his voice. A surge of anxiety coursed through Jenna. She moved instinctively, pressing closer to him as her body reacted without her consent. "Who is he?" Jenna managed, fear tightening her throat. "Stay calm," the stranger replied, his eyes flickering between her and the newcomer as if assessing the threat. Whatever you do, don't engage. Haven't you learned to behave yet? The man in the coat said, voice smooth but laced with menace. The tension in the air snapped tight, a bowstring ready to release. Seems like you haven't learned to mind your own business, the stranger retorted, stepping protectively in front of Jenna. Her life is not your playground. I beg to differ, the man smirked, tilting his head slightly as if intrigued. But let us not make this a scene, shall we? We wouldn't want to scare away the innocent bystanders. Jenna could feel eyes lingering on them, a mix of curiosity and anxious anticipation. The drink sat untouched, the laughter evaporating like mist. Who do you think you are? Jenna finally found the courage to ask, her voice trembling. You'll find out soon enough, he said, casting a glance that felt like ice against her skin. What matters is what you do next. You're at a crossroads, Jenna. Choose wisely. The stranger beside her stiffened, clenching his fists. She's not your pawn. Then what is she? The man smiled, and it sent a chill down Jenna's spine. Another opportunity for you? Or a means to an end? Stop it. Jenna shouted, her voice cracking. What do you want from me? Just leave me alone. A flicker of worry crossed the stranger's face, but he quickly masked it. Jenna, focus. You need to stay calm. And suddenly, the lights flickered again, longer this time, followed by a loud crash from the back of the bar. A cacophony of shouts erupted, and chaos flooded the atmosphere. Patrons scrambled to their feet, knocking over chairs as they rushed toward exits. In the frenzy, Jenna felt a hand grip her wrist. The stranger pulled her close, his breath racing. Stay with me. Don't let them separate us, he urged, urgency flooding his voice. Before Jenna could process what was happening, the man in the coat melted back into the shadows, his laughter echoing ominously, and she felt the stranger's grip tighten, the evidence of their shared panic fueling her pulse. What's happening? Who was that? She gasped, breathless. We need to go now. He commanded, dragging her toward the back exit where the chaos still raged, but just as they neared the door, another shadowy figure stepped into their path. This one bore a more menacing presence, a weapon glinting faintly beneath the bar's low lights. Jenna's heart plummeted. Was she really stepping into a world she couldn't comprehend? As the figure advanced, throwing the tension into a deeper spiral, she could only wonder who would betray her next and how far she had fallen down the rabbit hole. Would she walk out alive, or was this the breaking point? The menacing figure loomed closer, its weapon a blade that gleamed like polished silver catching the dim light like a herald of doom. Jenna's breath caught in her throat, the panic rising like bile. She could feel the heat of her fear radiating from her core, gripping her tighter than any physical bond. Step aside, the figure growled, a low rumble that sent tremors through the already fraught atmosphere. Patrons nearby were frozen, their eyes flitting nervously between the confrontation and the exit. The bar, once filled with laughter and clinking glasses, now felt like a theater of impending disaster. Not a chance, the stranger beside her staunchly replied, his body tense and unyielding. You don't want to do this. Jenna, heart pounding like a tribal drum, turned to the man at her side. What do we do? She stammered, urgency flooding her voice. Trust me, he said, his intensity giving her a sliver of assurance amidst the chaos. On 3, we make a run for it. 1. The weapon flashed as the figure took a step forward, brandishing the knife like a twisted trophy. 2. The man shifted slightly, preparing to make his move, but panic gripped Jenna further. Time felt suspended, a noose tightening around her thoughts. 3. He shouted, breaking the spell. They bolted, Jenna following his lead as the sound of chaos cascaded behind them. The other patrons scrambled away, creating a makeshift barrier of bodies as they dashed toward freedom. As they lunged past the figure, Jenna felt a rush of cold air wash over her, the taste of adrenaline mingling with fear. She risked a glance back, catching the figure's eyes locked onto hers, simmering with fury and something darker, something sinister. The bar door swung open, revealing the dimly lit alley beyond. It smelled of rain-soaked asphalt and desperation. The stranger hurled her through the opening, following close behind as they spilled onto the street. "Where do we go?" she asked breathlessly, scanning their surroundings. The city loomed around them, indifference dripping from the shadows. "There's a car nearby," he replied, urgency infusing his tone as he pulled her down the alley, away from the bar's main street. The world felt surreal, like being trapped in a fever dream where she was running but didn't know from what or why. What was that back there? Who were those men? Jenna demanded, her voice laced with fear. "They're part of something bigger," he answered, his expression a mix of concern and determination. "And it involves you." A chill seized her spine. "Involves me? Why?" "There are forces at play here," he continued, glancing around as if expecting shadows to come alive. "You've stumbled into a situation you don't understand. I didn't want it to be this way." "Then why didn't you tell me?" Her voice rose in frustration, confusion swirling like a storm inside her. "Because I didn't know who you'd be torn apart by. This is beyond you and me." He narrowed his eyes, his resolve palpable, a storm brewing beneath a calm surface. Before she could respond, he pushed her forward, urging her to keep moving. "We just need to get you to safety. That's all that matters right now." A sleek black car appeared at the end of the alley, its headlights cutting through the gloom. "Get in," he commanded, and without hesitating, Jenna climbed into the back seat, her heart pounding in her ears. He slid in beside her, slamming the door shut with an authoritative thud. The driver, a stern-faced man with shadows in his eyes, swiveled to look at them. "Are you both all right?" "We'll be fine," the stranger replied, but his voice held an edge. "Just drive fast." They sped away from the chaotic scene behind them, leaving the uncertainty of the bar fading into the night. Jenna clutched her arms around herself, adrenaline starting to give way to questions, doubts, and a gnawing fear. "What's really happening?" she asked, her voice barely rising above the rush of the city outside. But in that moment, the car abruptly halted, tires screeching against the pavement. Jenna's pulse quickened as she sensed another presence looming outside. "What is it?" "Stay down," he ordered sharply, his demeanor shifting, warily alert. A figure emerged from the shadows, silhouetted against the neon glow of streetlights. It was the man in the coat, his expression ominous. "Did you think you could just run?" he shouted, his voice slicing through the night. "You're just getting started," As Jenna sank further into the seat, the weight of reality crashed down upon her. She was caught in a web, tangled deeper than she could have imagined. And the worst part? She didn't know who to trust or how much danger she was truly in. What fate awaited her now? The atmosphere turned electric with tension as the man in the coat stepped closer. There was something twisted in his grin, a blend of malice and triumph. Jenna squeezed her eyes shut for a split second, wishing she could disappear. She could hear her heart hammering in her chest, a relentless drumbeat drowning out her thoughts. "Get out of the car, Jenna!" he barked, his voice hard and commanding. "No!" The stranger beside her reached for the door handle, ready to confront the intruder. "You need to back off. This isn't what you think." But the man in the coat laughed, a harsh, dissonant sound that scraped against her nerves. "Oh, I think I know exactly what this is. You're both in way over your heads." His gaze lingered on Jenna, the predatory gleam unsettling, as if he were sizing her up for a hunt. "Drive!" the stranger yelled to the driver, his voice laced with urgency. But the man merely sat there, frozen behind the wheel as the tension built. "Are you going to let me go?" Jenna's voice trembled, desperation creeping in. "What do you want from me?" "Simple," the man in the coat replied, tilting his head slightly, as if he were contemplating a new art piece. "I want the truth and I want you." The cogs in her mind whirred. The truth? What truth? Who are you? Just know that you're a key piece in a much larger game, he said, his tone silky, infused with a menacing calm. And you have a very important choice to make. Time stretched like a taut wire, pulling her deeper into an abyss of confusion. Jenna felt the heat of the stranger beside her, his body radiating a protective energy. She instinctively reached for his hand, squeezing it tight. In that moment, the fear morphed into a flicker of defiance. What choice? She shot back, drawing strength from whatever depths remained inside her. The choice of allegiance, he replied, a flash of hunger in his eyes, the glint of his promise as tantalizing as it was terrifying. You can join me and truly understand what is happening, or you can stay with him. Stay with me? The stranger said, his voice thick with disbelief, eyes darting between Jenna and the man in the coat. She's not going anywhere with you. The man smirked, unfazed. You think you're her savior? You don't even know what your own connection to this madness is. His words hung heavy in the air, a whisper of chaos unraveling just below the surface. What do you mean? Jenna felt her insides twist, a sense of dread pooling in her stomach. She turned to her companion, searching for answers amidst the haze of uncertainty. He opened his mouth to respond, but the moment was shattered. The man in the coat surged forward, aiming a hand towards the car, and within a blink, the windshield shattered like glass shrapnel exploding into the night. Jenna screamed, instinctively ducking as the driver jerked away, trying to regain control. The world outside blurred, and time felt like it was stretching painfully. Get out! The stranger shouted, swinging the door open and pulling Jenna with him. They tumbled out into the chaos, the world spinning dangerously around them. Jenna glanced back, the reality of their danger closing in like a vice. The man in the coat advanced, his face twisted in a deadly grin, eyes gleaming with a promise of pursuit. Keep running. Her companion urged, his voice sharp and insistent. They darted into the night, feet pounding against the pavement, as Jenna's mind raced with questions. What truth was out there waiting for her? And how was she connected to this web of shadowy figures? Suddenly, a piercing scream erupted behind them, a raw sound that shattered the night air like glass. They froze momentarily, instincts kicking in, fear coursing through their veins. What now? Jenna gasped, adrenaline pooling in her veins as she wheeled to face the source of the outcry. He won't stop until he has you, the stranger breathed, urgency cracking his voice. We need to disappear. Now. But in that moment, a car screeched around the corner, headlights blaring toward them like an approaching storm. Just as she thought escape was within reach, impending. Doom loomed closer. Where would they go next? And would they have time to elude the darkness that chased them relentlessly? Jenna's heart raced as the car barreled toward them, tires screeching against the asphalt. It felt like time was crawling, and she was stuck in slow motion, the headlights cutting through the night like a knife. The screaming continued, mingling with the echoing roar of the engine, a high-pitched wail heralding impending disaster. She felt frozen, her body refusing to move, even when every part of her screamed to escape. Move! Move! Her companion shouted, snapping her back to reality. With urgency fueling her limbs, she yanked on his arm. They darted away just as the car swerved, an explosion of gravel spraying behind it. Go left! He yelled, directing her toward a narrow alley that sliced between two brick buildings. It was dark and foreboding, and for a split second, fear flickered, threatening to snuff out her determination. But the man in the coat haunted her thoughts, his grin burning like a brand. They plunged into the shadows, breathless, the world outside fading into a kaleidoscope of chaos. The alley felt suffocating. Garbage cans lined the walls, and the smell of something rotten choked her. How had the night tilted into such madness? Did you see that? Jenna whispered, glancing over her shoulder, but her voice quivered. He just shattered the windshield like it was nothing. He nodded, his eyes darting around as if he could feel danger lurking in the darkness. He's not just a street thug. That isn't normal. There was a tremor in his voice, one she had never heard before. The raw vulnerability intertwined with fear only fueled her own uncertainty. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice desperate. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "We need a plan. First, we can't stay here. We need to get somewhere safe." Safe. The word felt hollow as it left her lips. Was there really such a place anymore? Before he could respond, the darkness around them erupted with the sound of footsteps. Panic surged, and she instinctively grabbed his hand, gripping it like a lifeline. "Quick! This way!" He yanked her deeper into the alley, rushing toward a rusty fire escape that jutted out over the wall. With a single nod of encouragement, he leapt and grabbed onto the metal ladder. "Come on!" His voice pierced the night. She followed, her heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. Climbing higher felt both thrilling and terrifying. Each rung was a test of her will, a challenge to forge ahead despite the chaos below. When they reached the rooftop, it was quiet. They stood beneath a canopy of stars, breathless, the vast city sprawling beneath them. Yet, the fear was still palpable, thick as fog. "Do you think he followed us?" Jenna panted, looking over the edge, scanning the darkness below with frantic eyes. "I don't know. But we need to stay alert," he replied, his brow furrowed in worry as he moved closer to the ledge. What secrets was that man hiding? Why was she suddenly at the center of a dangerous game? As she stood there, a chill creeping into her bones, a thought flashed through her mind. "You've been communicating with him, haven't you? You know something I don't." He turned to her, the light from the moon catching the tension in his jaw. "It's complicated. There are layers to this I never wanted to expose you to." "Layers?" Her temper flared, anger cutting through the fear. "You dragged me into this nightmare, and now you want to keep secrets?" Suddenly, the sound of a distant engine revving sent shivers down her spine. The man in the coat had the relentless nature of a wolf. She could almost feel him closing in. "We have to go," he urged, pulling her away from the edge. "I'll explain everything later, I promise." But Jenna could feel doubt creeping in, and with it, a question that burned brighter than the fear gripping her heart: what if he was tangled in it all? As they ran across the rooftop, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that more than just their lives were at stake. The truth dawned on her like a storm cloud. She was part of something much bigger and more dangerous than either of them realized. Her pulse thrummed in her ears, a drumroll, leading to an uncertain climax. With every step, an enigmatic darkness loomed closer, and she couldn't shake the ominous question: would their escape be a new beginning or a deeper descent into the abyss? As they sprinted across the rooftop, Jenna's mind raced with questions, each one more worrisome than the last. The city sprawled before them, but to her, it felt like a maze of uncertainty. The growing roar of the engine below thrummed like a war drum, signaling that their window for escape was rapidly shrinking. "Where to now?" she called out, trying to keep her voice steady, though the quiver betrayed her. "Down the next fire escape," he shouted back, pointing ahead where another rusted ladder hung precariously over the edge. They edged closer, their footsteps echoing against the concrete, drowning in the ambient city sounds that felt more threatening than comforting. "Why are you helping me?" Jenna asked, the need for clarity overpowering her fear. "You've been so secretive, and now because I care," he replied sharply, pausing just long enough to meet her gaze. For a fleeting second, his eyes softened, and she saw a flicker of vulnerability. But doubt returned, trailing on the heels of his urgency. "Let us focus on getting out of here first." He turned and leaped off the rooftop, landing with a solid thud. Jenna followed, adrenaline propelling her down the rickety metal. Each step down felt like a race against time, as if the man in the coat could smell their desperation. The moment they reached the ground, he pulled her behind a corner. They pressed against a cold, damp wall, hearts thrumming in harmony, their breaths merging in the silence. Listen, he whispered fiercely, I'll explain everything, but not here. We need to get to a place where we can talk without being interrupted. His eyes darted again, scanning for any sign of danger. Why not just tell me now? She demanded. The words tumbled from her mouth before she could stop them. What's really going on? Why did that guy want me? His face morphed, a mix of regret and determination swirling in his features. Because you're in the crosshairs of something bigger, Jenna. Something very dangerous. Like what? What's so important about me? You wouldn't believe me if I told you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. But the intensity in his eyes was magnetic, drawing her in. Before she could press him for more, the engine roared to life again, louder than before, echoing off the brick walls like a predator stalking its prey. Her breath caught in her throat as she recognized the sound. Now it was unmistakable. The car. He's coming. She gasped, taking a step back, fear clawing at her insides. That he took her shoulders firmly, leaning in as if to drive his words into her very soul. We have to move. Trust me. Just trust me. Trust? You still haven't told me who you are. Desperation turned her voice harsh. I'm not your enemy, Jenna. You have to believe that. He was suddenly interrupted by the screeching sound of tires grinding against pavement, a spotlight in the darkness. They scrambled away just as the headlights illuminated their hiding spot, cutting through the shadows with harsh clarity. Jenna glanced back, terror rooting her to the spot as the sleek car whipped around the corner. The man in the coat, his expression dark and determined, scanned from side to side. She felt her heart drop into her stomach. They were cornered. Come on. He yanked her forward, urging her down another alleyway that opened up like a gaping maw. They dashed through it, the shadows swallowing them again, but Jenna knew they couldn't keep running forever. The tension of uncertainty tangled with her fear, leaving bitterness and regret in its wake. How had she ended up alongside this stranger, fleeing from a man who seemed to possess his own supernatural strength? The alley twisted and turned, confusion adding to her dread. With every step, Jenna felt the gravity of her choices weighing her down, questioning who she could really trust, and if running was the only option left. There's a safe house nearby, he urged, pulling her closer. We can explain everything there. Safe house? Just how deep are you in this mess? The sharpness in her tone surprised even herself. He paused, eyes drifting to the entrance of the alley where they had emerged from. The car loomed ominously at its mouth, waiting for them. You have no idea, Jenna. But you need to know we may not be alone in this fight. The implications wrapped around her like a noose. As they turned to navigate yet another junction, Jenna's pulse raced not just from fear, but from a dawning realization that this nightmare was just beginning. And with every moment, the question lingered: what dark truth awaited her on the other side of their escape? They dashed into the next alley, Jenna's heart pounding louder than the footsteps echoing in the silence. Shadows loomed, their shapes twisting and shifting, deepening the dread that gripped her chest like a vice. Where is this safe house? She demanded, anxiety lacing her voice. Her instincts screamed danger, every second stretching painfully as they moved deeper into the maze of buildings. Just a few blocks away, he replied, glancing back where the glint of headlights cut through the darkness, becoming momentarily visible. We need to keep moving. Jenna didn't respond. Every instinct urged her to turn around and run in the opposite direction. Trust was a fragile thread, yet here she risked it, tied to a man whose motives she couldn't decipher. Each hurried step left her more conflicted, caught in a dance between fear and the flickering hope that he told the truth. Suddenly, there was a cacophony of shouts, sharp and urgent footsteps pounding against the pavement cut sharply into the air. She felt her skin prickle with panic. Did they hear us? They're looking for us, he said, urgency igniting his words. We can't stop. Without thinking, she sprinted faster, fueled by adrenaline and terror. The stench of the alley, the mix of dampness and refuse, hung thick in the air but was drowned out by the thundering of her heart. Just ahead, a narrow doorway appeared, lit by a flickering bulb that seemed as uncertain as they felt. "In there!" he yelled, pointing. They dove through it, slamming the door behind them and sealing themselves into a silence that felt almost suffocating. Jenna leaned against the cool metal, trying to catch her breath. The room was dimly lit, shadows shifting like they were alive. It was small, filled with stacks of crates and a single flickering fluorescent light bulb. "What is this place?" Her voice wavered, and she felt the weight of the world slide off her shoulders, if only slightly. "It's safe for now," he said, still watching the door as if it might burst open. "You'll understand soon, I promise." But Jenna couldn't shake her icy doubts. "Understand what?" "I'm running, hiding." "And for what?" Anger bubbled up, thick and hot. "Tell me what is going on." He turned to face her, his expression shifting from concern to steely determination. "You are the key, Jenna. They want something that belongs to you. Family secrets, things that could ruin lives, things you don't even know yet." "What do you mean?" Fear launched in her chest again, it felt like a hammer striking her heart. "What could I possibly have that is so important?" His shoulders sagged. "Your father, don't talk about him." She cut him off, feeling the anger and anguish swirl inside her. "He's not part of this anymore. It's all connected." He pressed on, his voice strained. "Your father left something behind, something powerful. And they will stop at nothing to get it back." That's why a sudden clattering sound made them both jump, reverberating through the room like thunder. The noise grew louder. Someone was outside, moving closer, and Jenna felt her stomach drop. "Hide!" he hissed, scooting behind a stack of crates. Without thinking, Jenna bolted under a table covered in dust, praying they wouldn't be found. Her breath was shallow, fear flooding her senses as the door creaked open. A figure stepped inside, engulfed in shadows. The man in the coat? Was he behind them? Footsteps echoed in the narrow space, and time stood still. "Search every inch," a voice commanded, smooth as silk but filled with a promise of violence. "I know they're close, don't let them escape." Jenna's heart raced as voices filtered through her hiding spot, each word sending chills down her spine. Suddenly, it hit her. The truth was sitting in her chest like a caged animal, waiting for the moment it could break free. But what would happen if it did? As the words echoed in her mind, the shadows moved, the door creaked again. What would she learn about her father that could change everything? What darkness lay in the path she had yet to uncover? Jenna held her breath, bracing for what came next. The figure stepped into the room, the faint light casting long, distorted shadows. Jenna's heart thudded in her chest as she squeezed further beneath the table, trying to silence her panicked breaths. She could hear the crunch of shoes against debris, each step echoing ominously in the stillness. "Keep looking," the voice commanded again. It was low, calm but edged with an urgency that hinted at the chaos unfolding outside. The shadow crossed close to her hiding spot, and she could see a glint of something metallic in his hand. Was it a weapon? A chill ran down her spine, but she forced herself to remain still, clutching the edge of the table for dear life. The faint flickering light above cast shadows that danced across the walls, magnifying her fear. These people were ruthless, she felt it in her bones. "Nothing here," another voice said from deeper within the room, filled with dissatisfaction. Jenna wanted to scream, to tell them they were wrong, to beg for her life. But each word stitched her lips tighter. The man with the deep voice cursed under his breath. "They must be close. Check the back room." He nodded towards a door at the far end of the warehouse, shrouded in darkness. Jenna's mind raced. Back room? They couldn't know they were right behind her. All fear clawed at her insides as if she were being hunted. She peeked out just enough to see the other intruder push through the door. Would they realize her companion was still here, too? "Jenna," he whispered urgently from the shadows behind the crates. "Stay quiet. They're in here." His voice was taut, thick with tension. The clicking of flashlights ignited paranoia inside her, their beams sweeping erratically through the space. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a warning signal. She pressed her back against the cold metal of the table, her pulse hammering in her ears. "Check under the table," the lead intruder shouted, prompting a jolt of panic. The intruder marched straight over, the bright light blinding her momentarily as it swept across her hiding place. She held her breath, praying they'd miss her. "Found you," he growled, but as he crouched low, something happened. The door behind him swung open violently, the wooden frame splintering as a figure rushed in, a woman with wild, frenzied eyes. She was brandishing a weapon, pointing it straight at the intruder. "Get away from her," she shouted, her voice a mixture of horror and rage. Chaos erupted. The intruder spun around, but the flash of the gun startled them all. The tension was palpable, electric. "Who do you think you are?" the man growled, disbelief coloring his voice. "Stand down. You don't know what you're dealing with." Jenna dared to crawl out from under the table, confusion written in the lines of her face. Who was this woman? And why was she helping them? "I'm not playing games," she shouted. "You're here for her, but you don't know what lengths I'll go to protect her." "You have no idea what you're getting into," the lead man spat, glancing at his companion who was already looking for an exit. Jenna could see the fear flicker in his eyes, and it fueled her determination. "I'm done running," she shouted, her voice breaking the hold of fear that had wrapped around her. "Whatever it is they want, I'm not letting them take it." As she spoke, Jenna felt a shift inside her, a flicker of defiance igniting the fear. The woman turned, her face softening momentarily into something resolute. "Let us get you out of here. Time's running out." But just as they moved to step away, the door crashed open, and more men poured in, their eyes wild and hungry for something they believed was theirs. "Grab her," one barked, lunging towards Jenna. "Run," the woman shouted, and Jenna's heart seized as fear tipped back into chaos. What had she just unleashed? And could she really face whatever awaited her outside? As the group bolted for the back exit, Jenna's mind spiraled, frantic for answers. Secrets unraveled, and the looming threat hung thick in the air. What had she uncovered that would change everything? The moment hung heavy with uncertainty. And she felt the rush of wind as they neared an escape. Yet another door loomed ahead. Would it lead to safety or deeper into the nightmare? Jenna plunged forward, heart racing, desperate for a way out. But would she escape only to fall further into the trap set before her? And what awaited her on the other side? The adrenaline buzzed in Jenna's veins as she hurtled through the warehouse doors, following the mysterious woman and the stranger who had become her reluctant protector. Each footfall echoed in a mix of panic and purpose, the air thick with the scent of sweat and fear. She couldn't shake the enormity of what had just happened, the threat of violence, the rising stakes, the secrets she was tangled in. The rush of confusion left little space for clarity. Who was the woman now fighting alongside her? What was this hidden history of her father that had drawn the darkness so close? With each step, questions piled upon her heart like weight, making it hard to breathe. "Where to now?" she breathlessly urged, her voice barely cutting through the swirling chaos. "Just keep moving," the woman yelled back, her eyes wide with an urgency that said everything. "This way." They turned swiftly, sprinting into the narrow corridor that led to another door marked with exit in bold, red letters. But just as they neared safety, the shadows deepened, and an ominous presence lingered behind them. The pounding footsteps grew louder. The men were closing in. Inside, the little room was dimly lit, cluttered with forgotten items. It smelled musty and cold, echoing years of neglect. Jenna felt momentarily safe, but the fear clawed at her. They had little time. With a fiery gaze, Jenna looked at the woman. "Who are you?" Call me Rhea, she replied, stepping closer to Jenna, face set with determination. I know your father. He was a part of something incredible, something dangerous. A rush of anger mixed with confusion washed over Jenna. Do you even know what you're saying? My father he's gone. I thought he left me. No. Rhea's eyes were intense. He didn't leave you, he was taken. You are his last hope, Jenna. They want what he hid. And now they've found it. The realization hit her like ice water. Her past wasn't buried, it was a ticking time bomb. She opened her mouth to respond, but just then, the cacophony outside grew louder. Shadows darted in their peripheral vision. Quick! The stranger urged, his voice sharp as the tension in the air. We need to get you to safety. Who do I trust? You? Her? Jenna felt the walls closing in, confusion clouding her vision. I want to help you, the stranger replied. That's the truth. But you have to trust us, no matter how surreal this feels. Trust? Jenna gasped, battling a whirlwind of emotions. What happens if I do? Then we get out of here together. He stepped closer, his expression earnest, almost pleading. Please, Jenna. Your father's legacy matters not just to you, but to many others who may be in danger. The door rattled as if the world outside was challenging their resolve. Determination ignited inside her, pushing aside the fear. Then let us get it over with. I want to let them take me. Rhea nodded, her resolve echoing Jenna's as they readied themselves. On 3. 1, 2, 3. The door flung open, and they launched into the fray, just as men began to storm in. Go, go, go! The stranger shouted, and they burst into action. Each of them took a quick, calculated route through the metal clutter, dodging quick hands and bright lights. They dashed toward the emergency exit, adrenaline pumping hard. Jenna's heart thundered as she felt the heat of pursuit behind them, but this time, there was no room for doubt. They were willing to fight. Jenna grabbed Rhea's hand, pulling her forward. Behind them, the sound of shouting and chaos erupted. They sprinted down a fresh hall, adrenaline propelling them closer to freedom. At what felt like a critical juncture, they burst through another door, and Jenna gasped, the city sprawling out before them. It was raw and real, the noise of the streets, the sickly sweet scent of smoke and city night. Don't stop! The stranger called, leading them away from the dimness of danger. As they raced into an alley, Jenna felt the rush of cold air mix with the warmth of determination, her heart beginning to settle just a little. A car awaited, an older model, but its presence felt like a beacon. The driver, a scruffy man with dark circles under his eyes, revealed nothing as they climbed inside. Get in! He urged. We need to move fast. Where are we going? Jenna shot back, still grappling with the sudden shift in her reality, a life now turned into a chaotic whirlwind. Somewhere we can talk, the stranger replied, easing into his seat and glancing out the back window. And don't look back until we're free. The car pulled away, racing down the dimly lit streets, leaving behind the shadow of danger that lingered. Jenna's heart raced, but it was now filled with something new, a chance. Tell me everything, she said, eyes focused on the road ahead, ready for the storm to come. And as they drove, she felt the dawn of truth settling within her. Whatever lay ahead, she wouldn't shy away from uncovering her father's legacy. She couldn't afford to back down now, not when the danger loomed so close, not when hope flickered on the horizon amidst the chaos. As the night surrendered to the first whispers of dawn, she closed her eyes, gathering the fragments of courage within her. The fight wasn't over, in fact, it was just beginning. And she would stand strong. Now, as she moved toward the unknown, it was time for them to close ranks. They may have been running, but now, they would explore the depths of these secrets she had only begun to grasp, and nothing could shake her resolve. Let them come, the truth was on her side. So, what are you waiting for? This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss a single twist in this story. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Jenna's journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. The excitement has just begun.